Well, my name is Cdale Enick, and this is Marcus. Tonight we are joined by Dakota Bahr again. And tonight we have a special guest, her husband. You might know him as Big Moni, the Siberian Ninja, Dakota Bahr. You're listening to Fallen Hour Radio. Say Fallen Hour. All right, so tonight's topic is we're actually centering this around Dakota because Dakota has some interesting stories to tell. And he told one before, and this was like off camera, nobody's around, it's just us guys. And it just, that was the story that creeped me out the most. You know what I mean? Like I never had that feeling in a long time. And then Dakota brought the life out of me. He gave life to me again. But, so yeah, we're getting into ghost stories tonight, and we are continuing this podcast week by week and just right back to it. So, anything else? Nada.
You're like extra corny today.
I know.
What the hell?
Told you, he gave me new life. No. So, let's get to your first story. Now, did you look into anything I sent you?
I was out hunting, dude.
Oh, that's right, all right.
I didn't look into anything.
So, I mean, you lived around Lame Deer.
Yeah.
And this is the deep res. And I mean, if you get on the reservation, there is ghost stories like nonstop.
Galore.
Yeah, it's like part of the culture, and people I think are more susceptible or more open to paranormal events. Some of the stories you hear though coming out of the res is insane.
They're insane, yeah.
Yeah. So tonight that is our topic, and I think we should get started. Let's start with a mild story. You have anything mild?
See, I don't know. One that I was thinking of today is like one of the first experiences. Well, I've had experiences before, but one that always bothered me was I was at my grandmother's house one night, and I'd always go up on top of the hill and just kind of like think, kind of be away from everyone, you know, when things were going on. But I was waiting for my brothers, and all of us, we grew up this creek, and there's houses like walking distance, and we stayed by the power grounds, and my brothers went to go play with they went over to their friend Kyle's, they go play like video games and all that, and I was waiting for them, and I remember waiting for them to see him come walking back, and I kept hearing this like weird like moaning noise coming from across the creek, and I just kept looking over there, and it was kind of like freaking me out, and I looked around, I checked the house, and like my first reaction was to like to see if anyone else was like outside across the road, anyone else could like hear this. And I started listening more, and I kept hearing it like coming from across the creek, and it was getting darker and darker, and I kind of panicked. I got scared more for my brothers, so I ran, told my grandma, I was like, hey, you need to call Kyle's house. I was like, I can hear something outside, and my grandma was like, what? I was like, I keep hearing like a woman moan, and my grandma like freaked out, and she went outside, and she was listening, and she could hear it, and she's like, what is that? I was like, I don't know. I was like, I'm worried that it's something over there, and I was like, they're gonna be walking back pretty soon. So then she called across the creek, and she was talking to my auntie, and she's like, hey, can you guys hear anything outside? And then she's like, Dakota's outside. He can hear, like, he says it's a woman moaning. She's like, it sounds real weird. And they went outside, and they said they couldn't hear a thing, and they were talking on the phone, and she's like, no, I can't hear nothing outside. They're like, it might just be like an animal or something, you know? He's like, they'll be okay. And I went back outside, I just kept getting worried, and I kept hearing it, and I finally called my brother. I was like, hey, man, do you guys want me and Grandma to come pick you up? It's like there's something down in the creek, like making a real weird noise. It's like, go outside, see if you can hear it. And they went outside, and like, no, we can't hear nothing. They're like, you're just being a chicken, like, knock it off, you know? And like, start talking crap to me. And I was like sitting up, I was like watching TV, and I kept looking out. We have a huge window by that where we sit, our couch, and I was like, just kept looking out the window, and I was like afraid to go out and hear it, and I kept going out. And it seemed like each time I went outside, I would hear it, like make the noise. Mm-hmm. And then finally I was like, told my grandma, I was like, man, let's just go get the boys. They're going to be walking back pretty soon. I was like, I don't want nothing to happen to them. And she's like, they said they're fine. They're like, if they're fine, you know, they'll be okay. They walk back at night all the time. And I was like, all right. And I kept looking out, and I was waiting. And man, pretty soon I could see them. I could see them running up the road. And then we had the light outside, and I could see them running. And they like both looked behind them, and they just kept running. And after that, I started kind of like panicking, and I went and opened the door, and man, they just come blowing in the door, and they're like, "What the hell was that?" And they're like, what was that?" And I was like, "I don't know." And they're like, "Did you hear it?" They're like, "Yeah." And my brother looked like he was about to start crying, and I was like, "Did you guys see it?" They're like, "I don't know what it was." They're like, "It was just a shadow." They're like, "We seen it." They said as they were leaving, they started kind of teasing. They were talking to each other. You could tell they were still panicked. My brother looked like he was trying to cry, and here, my brother said when he came down, he said they started walking and they got nervous. But they said it got to like, as soon as they got to they crossed the creek. They said they crossed the creek and they got past that culvert, and they said they looked to the left and they could see like a woman or something like standing in the trees. And my other brother's just like, "We can't turn around because it's there. It's like on that side." He's like, "So we just got to keep going." So they got up on the highway and they kept walking and they crossed the creek again. And he said each time he would turn and look, he said he would see her closer. And he said as they got further away, when they got closer to the light, he said my other brother just told him, he's like, "We're just gonna have to run at some point and not stop running until we get to Grandma's house." So he said they took off running, and they said that as they were running, each time he would look back, he said he wouldn't see her move at all, but he would see her in a different area. And then there's this huge field, but he could never see her in the field. He would just see her further in the trees, in the brush. As soon as they got to the house, he said the last thing he remembers seeing is he didn't see her, but he looked and she was like standing on top of the hill, but I couldn't see her. But he said he seen her standing on top of the hill. And like after that, like I freaked out, and I told my grandma like what they seen. My grandma come out and she's like trying to like get him to be calm, and she's like, "Well, what was it?" And they said like they don't know. Like all they could think of is like it was a woman that was like crying. And then like later on I hear like other stories about people like coming across stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like since then, that's like one thing that always bothered me at my grandma. So as I got older, sometimes I'd still go outside and like I'd look down the creek and like listen, but like I don't want to hear it again. But that's just like a thing that always bothers me, is like hearing that cry.
I thought you were gonna say I always go outside and I think about her sometimes.
Like you go out there, but you just can't help but think about it. Yeah.
I hate those because every time it's always when I'm washing my face or if I'm gonna shower or something, I always have to picture a scene in a movie or a video I watched
Something behind you.
like contextual to like what I'm doing, and I don't know, I just bug myself so much.
That's weird. So like they always see her closer, but they never see her walking.
Yeah,
or
like
running.
they didn't see her move once. Like that's what my brother's like, "I think we're just gonna have to run and like not stop until we get there." And he said he was the only one. He's my older brother Bill, and he said he was the only one that my brother Ben just stayed ahead of him running. But he said he would look like each time, and he said he'd keep seeing her in different spots when he would like look back the other direction. And I wanted to go outside and like see what she looked like, but I couldn't see it. And when they came in, my brother said, he's like, "You looked right up where she was on the hill, but like I didn't see nothing." I was like, "I don't know." I was like, "Maybe it was just something that you could see and only I could hear, you know?" But I didn't even hear her either. And he said that she like made that noise before he came inside. And the next day he even asked me too. He's like, "Man, what was that noise?" And someone told us that like someone was fasting out in the hills, and they put up like, someone was calling them spirit rags, and then they have like prayer cloths too. So I'm imagining that's what they were doing, was putting those out. So as young as I was like, "Oh, all right." So when I see those prayer cloths that they put around at the springs and stuff, in my mind I was thinking that they were putting those out to attract spirits, so like they could talk to them, or like, because like some people, you know, they like they pray to people, or they think they're praying to someone, but they're like actually praying to something else.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh, they're putting these out there to like attract these spirits," and that's what was in my mind all the time. So whenever I would see those hanging up, I'm always like looking around, like something's close, you know.
That's like a horrific game of red light, green light. That's what it seems like. You're like running, you turn around, it's like right there. Run again, you turn around, it's like even closer. Yeah, screw that, dude. That's creepy.
It's almost reminiscent of La Llorona.
Yeah.
The crying woman. And I was reading today because I was looking into, because I know you have a story coming up, so I was looking into something of like animalistic spirits. Those can be, I got this one demonology book, and it's about rooting out demons, and it's written by a minister, but he talks about animalistic spirits, but it references also Lilith. And Lilith was a demon who was also a woman, but she has a lot of characteristics that La Llorona had. And is that something we could be seeing still?
La Llorona.
La Llorona.
I say La Llorona because that's how it's spelled.
Do you say tortilla?
Tortillas. Make yourself a damn quesadilla.
I would say La Llorona. That's how the guy introduced it in the movie. La Llorona.
Well, the thing that like later as I got older, I was I was telling one of my uncles about that story, and he thought it was pretty crazy because he wanted to hear it one night, like we're out in the hills, like drinking and stuff, and he's like, so what'd you guys hear that, or what'd you hear that night? And I was telling him, and he told me like he's heard something like that. I was like, I don't know, at the time, like I made the noise, and he was like looking at me. I was like, I don't know. I was like, sounds something like that. I was like, but I was like, is it like the scariest thing I've ever heard? And I was like, besides a mountain lion scream, like I thought it was a woman screaming one time, like out in the hills, and me and my brother were playing, and we just like took off. I just left my brother. I was like, man, I left him, took off running down from the side rocks, and I went in and I told my grandma, I was like, there's a woman like screaming out in the hills, and she's like, what? And she like looked over at me. I was like, yeah, go outside. And my little brother, like by then, he's just now making it down the hill, like crying, and he's like, what was that? And I was like, I don't know, man. Someone's getting killed out in the hills, though. And my grandma was like, what did it sound like? And then you could hear it, and my grandma was like, oh, all right. And she's like, got on the phone, and she called Vernon. He stays across the road, and he has all these hound dogs, you know. Mm-hmm. She's like, there's a mountain lion out in the hills, and he's like, all right. And then man, he hears like trucks start up, and he hears dogs like all howling, heading out. And I was like, she's like, you guys aren't gonna hear that no more, you know. And I was like, all right. And then she's like, it's just a mountain lion, and I was like, well, it sounds pretty scary.
Yeah, they sound scary, man.
Yeah, so like I thought that was that time, but my grandma, she heard it, and she's like, no, that's something different, you know. But when I was telling my uncle about that, he was telling me like years back at my grandpa's house across the creek, like that house, you see that house, and it just kind of, as big as it is, it's an older house, and they had a lot of kids. It's like on a ranch, and there's just like so much stories at that house of like a boy, and like you see so much things happening around this creek too. But he was telling me that years back they chased something out of that house, and my cousin seen it one day too. We'd always play in the basement. He said one time he went downstairs and he looked under the steps, and there was no boards there, just like some older steps. And he said he looked under, and he said that he seen a woman under there with like long hair.
Oh my god!
She was like looking at him, and they said he just screamed, and he come running upstairs. And they told him, he's like, that woman's down there again. And like everyone's like, well, just like leave her alone. Or like people are like, you know, like don't look into it anymore. Or, like just leave it be. But after a while, everyone kept seeing it, and they kept seeing this woman around that house. So finally, I guess they called like a whip man and like a medicine man, and they called all these people there to come check and see what it was. Uh-huh. But I guess they had all the younger kids and everyone leave. And my uncle I remember him telling me he could just hear like that whip. They're like hollering at it and like screaming at it, and you could hear that whip like cracking. And he said each time you hear that whip crack, you could hear that woman scream.
What the hell?
And then he said like he was already afraid, and they had a lot of them were getting in the car. A lot of the kids left, but everyone kind of started like freaking out. And then he said pretty soon they start hollering like, you guys get away. And then he said he just seen her come like running out, and he's like, the only way he could explain it is like off of like Ring. Yeah. He said that that woman come out, and he's like, she was like just doing like these cartwheels and like all kinds of crazy stuff.
What the heck?
And he's like looking at her, and he said like the dogs they have nothing but like red heelers and blue heelers. Said they're all running at it, like biting at her, and she was going down the road, and he said you could just like start hearing those dogs like yelp, like it was fighting back. And then he said that you could hear her screaming, like running down the creek. And then he said like later on that night when they're all outside, they said they're praying for the house and everything. He said you could hear a woman moaning real loud, like what I was saying to him. He's like, so that might be the same thing. He's like, just make sure like doesn't get in the house or something, you know.
Maybe it was like one that got chased out before or something.
Yeah, and he said that like, this happened like when I probably wasn't even like born then, you know. I probably was born. I was probably younger, but when he told me that, I was like, it kind of made me think about it. And he's like, yeah, he's like, when they come out, he said that older guy said, you guys be careful, she's gonna stay close around. And he's like, that cirrhosis woman. And they're like, what? And they're like, yeah, she's like, she drank herself to death like over a bad relationship. And I was like, dang, I was like, that's nuts. And I was like, just like the name itself, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So ever since then, I always kind of like think of that.
So like this woman that you heard was around the same house that got chased out of.
Yeah.
So you think she like kind of like lingers around that house like trying to get back in?
Yeah, or like she hangs around up that creek that goes.
Oh man.
A lot of people always talk about it. Like my dad too, because we grew up in another house further down the creek, and there was talk about how something goes down that creek every night, and like everyone talks about it. How like you hear the dogs barking like every night, and then my dad's like, yeah, it hits sweet medicine about 4 o'clock in the morning, and that's when the dogs start going off down here. And then he's like, it goes off at grandma's about 1. He's like, so it takes it about 3 hours to get down here, whatever it is. And he's like, and everyone up the creek always talks about how the dogs go off at a certain time.
Yeah, I've seen that happen before.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, I've seen that happen before in Crow, and dude, that was creepy, man, because literally those dogs would start barking down the way, and it would like slowly move closer and closer, And it got to where it was on the road that we were on, and we were up by the water tower. And I remember it was me and Roman outside. Mm-hmm. Me, Roman, I can't remember who else was with us. And the sun was just coming up. And literally the neighbor's dogs, like about 3 houses down, they'd be barking and they'd be turning their head like this, like they were watching something walk by. And then the next house, those dogs would be watching it like this.
I remember that.
And it was like literally till it got right in front of us. And our dog was watching something walk. And they all started turning and kind of following. And it was like heading toward the graveyard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, I seen that before. And it was fucking creepy, dude.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think animals can see them and we can't?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I know in Native American traditions, they believe that animals were like a spirit and they can communicate. You can communicate with them, right? Mm-hmm. Crows were able to talk to dogs and animals and stuff. I don't know about Cheyenne, though. Did they have that kind of stuff down there?
I don't know. I'm not too sure. I'd assume because it seems like most natives pick up on like the same traditions and like adapt to what other people do, you know, to communicate as well.
Probably. And I mean, if that was like a real thing, like they believe that those were spirits, then it's possible.
Yeah. They even learned a lot of things from the animals.
Yeah.
Like even, I think it was crow. They learned hand games.
Yeah.
From them. They saw them literally playing in the woods, like playing hand games against each other. And that's how
the
they
animals?
learned it. Yeah, that's how they learned
wow.
it.
Scary.
I heard that was one story. I heard another story too, but that was one of them that I heard.
Wow.
Looks like his gears are turning.
I was trying to think about something. But yeah, I know it's kind of weird though too when you see a ghost video that resembles an animal that like just died or something.
Yeah.
Like you had a story. Did you tell that story about feeling Marley?
Oh, Marley?
Yeah.
Okay, so my brother had a cat named Marley, and that thing was huge.
Yeah.
But he
My
took
beloved
off.
Marley.
He took off one day, and he never came back. And then like a few months passed by, and like we would still see him around like the house, like around the neighborhood and stuff.
Yeah.
But then pretty soon we just stopped seeing him. And I was like, man, I wonder if like someone took him in, or like I wonder if he died. And here, I have 2 cats at the house, and they always like rub up against me and stuff. And one day I was doing the dishes, and I felt like a cat rub up against me. And then I like looked down expecting to see one of my cats, and none of the cats were in the kitchen. And I was like, oh no, Marley. I was like, you died. I was like, oh man.
I thought you told me about that. I was like, no, he's still alive.
He's out there.
He's out there somewhere.
You're a damn liar.
You're feeling things.
You're going insane.
But I was looking into those. I didn't really get too much time to look into animalistic things, but I know those are some sort of like demonic thing that it can be. When like if you look into biblical stories, every time they were in a wilderness, they would be bothered by some sort of demon that was animalistic.
Yeah, I saw one, like I think it's in the Amazon, that there's like a demon or a spirit that would literally like make itself look like prey to attract hunters, and then it would kill them.
Whoa.
Yeah. I think it's in the Amazon.
Wow.
I can't remember the name of it though, but yeah, I came across that. So I thought that was kind of crazy.
Did you ever see that one video where there was like it looked like a demonic entity, but it was like attached to a goat?
Yeah, I saw that.
And it was like
yep.
they were trying to get it off.
Yep. Yeah, I saw that.
I don't like that video. And that goat's like freaking out.
Yeah, and when it runs off, you can see it like trailing
It's
along
like
with it.
trailing. Yeah, it looks like it's kind of like almost like a like it was almost moving like snake-like, but it was like it looked like a long shadow. Yeah, I remember seeing that. That was weird, man.
That one creeped me out.
Yeah.
I know, me too.
Yeah, I didn't like that one.
I was like, that poor goat.
Yeah.
No, but it's like I was looking into that mostly, and then kind of remembering some stories like that biblically, like that has to do more with goats though. Like goats were like the big thing, but when they describe different animals inhabiting something, it would be referencing basically another culture that another deity, basically. And it's like attributed like demons and whatnot.
Yeah.
But that was like that's about as far as I got today. I think it was a good thing we started the podcast like right away, and right into stories, because Dakota has a lot of stories, and if you know Dakota, you can tell some stories.
Yeah, you got some crazy ones, dude. Like some of those, man, they creep me the hell out.
I know.
I know, like one that I was thinking of that I was telling you guys earlier was when I found out, like I was just watching videos about like all the creatures like around for each state. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but they call it like the Shunka Warkin. And when I saw it just from watching things on TV before, when it was real early in the morning, we were like out all night and we're coming down this creek, and we thought it was a bear at first, and it come like running out of the hills, and like my uncle just jumped out. He's like, "Oh, right there," and like we just kind of like seen it, and we got out, and I was like looking, and I was like afraid to shoot because I didn't know what it was. I was like, "Man, like what is that?" And he's like, he looked at me too. He's like, "What the hell is that thing?" And then it's like kind of coming towards us, and like he just shot, and then like you could just hear it start growling, and then he's like, "Shoot it," and he shot again. Man, he shot it 3 times, and it was just like rolling around, and then I was like looking at him. I was like, "What is that thing?" And he's like, "I don't know, man." He's like, "What do you think it is?" And I kept looking at it, and for some reason, to me, it looked like a pit bull, like a real. It was like all muscular. And he's like, "Let's go check." And at the same time, I was like thinking, "Man, this thing's probably like still alive," because he like put 3 in it already, and it was like kind of still moving around. So I grabbed my gun. I was like walking up to it real slow, and he's like a little ways behind me. I was like trying to make him go up to it first, and I walked up to it, and like just like in hunter safety, they like teach you to touch it with the end of the barrel, you know. So like I walked up to it, and like I pushed it a few times, and then I was like, "Man," I was kind of like walked back still, and he's like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "Let's just wait it out for like a little bit," and we're like still sitting there, and finally I walked up to it, and he's like, "What do you think that is?" Because it looked like a bear, but at the same time we thought it was like a wolf. He's like, "Man, I think we got a wolf at first," but then when we were looking at it and the sun was coming up more, I was like, "Man, it kind of looks like a bear," and you can tell whatever it was, like, man, it lived like a rough life because it was all like scratched up, had scars on it, and its teeth were all messed up, and its face was kind of like smashed in a little bit, and it had like no ears, but you could see like where the holes are, like where they would be, and its ears were completely gone, and like we just kept looking at it, and I had this old iPod. I took a picture of it, and I was like, "Well, what should we do with it?" He's like, "What do you think that is?" Like, "Man, the only thing I think of is like these videos I see is like they called it like a hellhound."
Yeah.
I was like, "It's something like that." He's like, "Is it like a chupacabra or something?" I was like, "Man, I don't know." And then he's like, "What should we do?" He's like, "Man, I don't know." He's like, "This is kind of scary, like a Bigfoot thing, you know." He's like, "Should we take it with us, or what should we do with it?" And I was like, "Man, let's just take it with us then." He's like, "We got to show someone." He's like, "Otherwise no one's going to believe us." And so we grabbed it, we threw it on top, and like we strapped it down, and we headed out, and we took it to go show the old man, and he's like probably the worst person to show too, because we took it up to him, and he's like, "Look at this." He's like, "Come look at this." And he comes up to it, and he's like, "What is that?" Because he's got bad vision too. He's like, "Is that a goat?" And then we're like, "It's definitely not a goat, but like, what do you think it is?" And he's like, "I don't know what that is." He's like, "Where'd you guys get this?" And like we told him the whole story, and he's like, "I don't know." He's like, "Man, get that thing out of here." He's like, "I've never seen anything like that." And then it just happened to be he was the only one there, and like no one else was around. And we went to show someone else, and finally we just like decided it was around hunting season, around this time of the year. And then we went to go back up to Wolf Point to go hunting because we're hunting some whitetail up there at the time. And he's like, "Man, let's just head out. Let's head to Wolf Point." He's like, "Let's go put this in the back of my truck." And so we took it to the back of his truck, and we just threw it in the back there. And then we headed out to Wolf Point, and we're showing everyone those pictures. And this guy's like, "Man, you guys shot someone's dog." We're like, "No, look at that." And he's like really looking at it. He's just teasing him though. And he's like, "Man, what is that though?" Like once they got to looking at it, like never seen something like that. Then one of them's like, "Man, it's a hellhound." And then I was like, "See, that's the only thing I was thinking of." And we were only in Wolf Point for like 2 days, and then we came back. And as soon as we came back, the first place we went was back to that truck. Yeah. Because we had someone else with us then. Like, "Man, you got to see this," because they wanted to see it after we showed them the picture. And we pulled up to the truck, and it wasn't back there. And we're like, I was like, "Where's it at?" And he's like, "Fuck these guys, man. Where'd you guys take that picture at?" And I was like, "No, we threw it in there." And then we went up, asked the old man, like, "Hey, did anyone go take that out of the truck?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "The dogs like didn't even go down there or anything." And we're like, "Are you serious? Like, they didn't drag it out?" He's like, "No." He's like, "They were like afraid of it when they seen it, you know." He's like, "I don't think they want to go over there and like dive in there and check it out." And we're like, you didn't go throw it away?" He's like, no one's been to that truck." He's like, "I've been here, you know, I've been here. No one's been around it." And there was like there wasn't even like blood in there from like what would like bleed out a little, you know. Yeah. There was nothing in the back of that truck at all. And like, he's like, "Man, something came back and picked it up." He's like, "Something definitely wanted it like not to be known or something." And I had that picture on that iPod for the longest time, but I still got the iPod. I don't know where it's at, but it's like I'm keeping it because I want to see if I can find that picture again. You know. But like I said, later on, I was watching YouTube and I seen that like Shunkawarinkin, they call it like the Rocky Mountain hyena. It's like, but they said that it's like around the Fort Peck tribe, and there's pictures of one that someone shot. It doesn't look exactly like that, but the one that we seen was like a lot muscular, and like that's the only thing I can compare it to is like how big and how like pretty much ugly like that thing looked, you know. So when I seen that video, I was like, all right, man. I was like, so it's got to be real because they're saying like there's like existence of other ones, but like it looks a little bit different, you know, compared to the one that guy got. And some people are saying like he stuffed that and made it himself, but I was kind of thinking like that one looked more dog-like, but the one that we seen like looked like I said, like it's probably been attacked by other animals and like just lived a rough life, you know. And so I don't know if it came back to life and left or what happened to it, but no one knows like where it went. And to this day I still feel like it's probably like still alive or something, you know.
Still out there somewhere.
Yeah. Weird, man.
Dakota.
Like some kind of cryptid.
Yeah.
Dakota again. Sometimes I think about it. There is a theory I think we came across about Bigfoot, and they believe that Bigfoot buries its own.
Yeah,
right?
like humans.
Didn't Dad tell us about that?
Yeah. He said that's why they can't find him, because that's why they never find a body. So because they bury their own like humans.
Right. It could have been something like that too. Maybe another one came and picked it up or something. I don't know.
Yeah. See, that's what my uncle's like. Man, whatever. Like someone came and got it, or something came and got it to like get rid of it. Yeah.
That's creepy.
That is creepy.
Have you seen? I think you talked about this too. The maps that go across the U.S. about all the tunnels, right?
Yeah.
That like.
Yeah, that was another theory. Like I was kind of like putting together, and then Dad even told me because he did the same thing.
Yeah.
He said all those underground tunnels, there was a lot of Bigfoot sightings around the entrances, and he said that's probably how they move, is they go underground.
Wow.
I was like, man, that's creepy. Can you imagine that thing dragging you under the tunnels? Like, oh, that's a nightmare in itself.
So we have this. Actually, I won't mention that one because I think that could be kind of murky. I'm talking about, but I'll just tell you because I'll just probably pop it out. But there's because I don't know, it could be kind of sensitive to some people. I mean, if they're dealing with that. But we came across a theory about Cain and Abel, right? We told us on the podcast too. But that he was cursed to roam the earth, and he was covered in hair.
Yeah.
And we talked to a prophet about that, and he said it's possible that, but he was like, Cain died. Later on in scripture, so he wasn't cursed to roam the earth after that, but it could be his descendants.
Yeah,
and that kind of blew our minds. That was another one.
Maybe it's a descendant. But yeah, there's even a tribe. There's a tribe in the Bible that is like that.
Yeah, but if you see these people that deal with it, like, have you seen those? They put them in, like Ripley's Believe It or Not. They're just covered in hair. I think it's back to the Jets personally. But they're covered in hair, right? Do you think that it has some sort of correlation between that and that theory?
From that tribe?
Yeah.
Or are you trying to say they're descendants of Bigfoot?
No, from that tribe.
From that tribe.
You just said they're descendants.
So. Well, because that's what kind of sound like where you were going, but you didn't want to say it.
No.
But no, they could be descendants.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if that was like a sensitive subject.
Yeah, because like it's like a condition, like some kind of condition.
Right. And I know how people are today.
Because like it's not, even their parents will be like, normal, and their kid will like literally like be hairy like all over, like their face, everything.
But I wonder, we didn't ask him that either though, is like when he died, does that mean the curse died with him, or does it actually live on with his descendants? Right. That's possible too, because there is generational curses too. Yeah. And that could be possible to be one of them.
Even like anything like your traits, they even skip so many generations before somebody has it. Right. Like even with colored eyes. You know, like your mom can have colored eyes, you won't, but your kids will. So it could be like almost the same thing. So maybe it skips generations, and then they have a child that actually has that condition.
The only one that got that trait is Al. His daughter.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Mom's got colored eyes, but none of my kids do. I'm always hoping for it. I'm like, oh, I'm always getting
Dang it. Brown eyes.
Yeah, I just thought about that because I seen a TikTok about someone living with that condition.
Yeah.
Perfectly normal child, eating like a cake or something. But I was thinking about that. I was like, is it possible that there's some sort of correlation? And I think it's something to look into.
With that condition,
yeah,
like being descendants of Cain,
right? And they could have their own belief systems too, because a lot of those people that suffer with those are not from the U.S. They're usually somewhere else.
Yeah,
and they could have some of their own take on it too.
Or they can be descendants of that tribe,
right?
That was like that.
Yeah,
possible.
I had a side note though. I was researching, I think like a couple weeks ago, but there was a documentary that was put out, and this has nothing to do with Bigfoot or anything. I'm just trying to get this out of my head. But the lost tribe of Judah, right?
Yeah.
The Bible references that they took I forgot what it's called, but it's referencing a drum, right? It would have been like well over 2,000 years old, probably like closer to like 3,000s. But so that tribe took that and they split off and they went and left. So there's a tribe in Africa that actually claims to be the lost tribe of Judah.
And they have that drum.
And they have the artifact of that drum.
Really?
And this archaeologist was like, nah, it's not possible. He said, but it does kind of make sense because where the tribe of Judah would have been, he said it could have been close to the Africa, that continent.
Yeah.
So he looked into it and then he visited there, saw the drum, tested it. It's that old.
Wow.
And he tested their blood, and their blood doesn't relate to anybody else in the world. It's just more. I was like, what the heck? That's a side note.
So he kind of proved himself wrong in proving that theory right.
Yeah. So he believes he's world. You got to look him up. I'll probably put him on the video, but he's a really high-ranking scientist, archaeologist, and he believes now that the last tribe of Judah is there.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. I was like, whoa, that's freaking nuts. Anyways, on to the. So do you want to get into that story? I'm kind of like,
yeah.
The one that creeped me out the most is this story that Dakota's about to tell, and it's very rare for me. Like I was telling Alethea
to get creeped out.
Yeah, I was telling Alethea. She was like, she always says to me, "You don't think I'm funny, but everyone else thinks I'm funny." And I was thinking, I was like, you know what? I was like, sometimes I find things really, really funny, but I just don't laugh. You know what I mean? Like when I'm watching,
that's funny.
Like when I'm watching like a TikTok or something, like I'll find it really hilarious, but it's like, you know,
you just scroll. That was hilarious.
But when I'm
nose laugh.
Right, the same thing. Yeah, same thing when I get like creeped out. Like I don't really register with my.
It hits you later on.
Yeah,
like you think about it later, and like, oh my god,
then you laugh
creepy.
about it.
Yeah.
But this story that he told us, when he told it to us, I just remember getting this feeling of like,
I was like, dude, that's gross.
God. Like I said, it's a creepy story, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Dakota, take it away.
So, which one was he like talking about? It was like I know you're interested in like the goat one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which one exactly is like the one where they tried to kill the goat?
Yeah, that one.
See, because that's why when I was thinking, I was like, man, which one is he talking about? Because there's been like so many. I've never really liked goats myself, and there's certain ones, but it's like specific goats. I don't like the ones that are like white with like long beards and like the long horns, you know.
Billy goat, right?
Yeah, like the. Yeah. Well, there's all kinds of different goats, but the ones that look like that, because like the Amish always have them too. When we'd go over there to the Amish store, we'd always see them, but I just never really liked them because the things that would happen. Like we'd always see that one walking up the porch at night and like walking around, and I seen our grandma one time. She was like fighting one, like holding the horns, and that's why they wanted it shot, you know. But the reason why they kind of got rid of the goats too is one time my uncle was telling us like, yeah, like goat man's back around, and we're just like, you know, like, yeah, whatever, you know. And then he's like, you guys watch out there, you guys like stay close to the house. And we thought he was just trying to scare us, but at the same time they had pigs, you know, goats on their farm. And I remember one day on the bus we seen a goat, and I was like looking, I was like, man, what the hell is that goat doing way over here, man? Like he's supposed to be on, you know, down by the ranch. And my cousin seen it too, and he's like, was that same one? And I was like, I think so. And it was like kind of like blew it off, and he told his dad. Then one day he seen it by their house, and he told his dad, he's like, yeah, I seen that goat over in the hill. I was like, I told you, man, watch out, goat man's around. And he's like, did you see him? Did you see him on the hill? And then I was like, man, can that goat travel around that fast, you know? But anyway, that goat ended up attacking the grandma, and she just got tired of it. She didn't want it around there no more because she was afraid that it was like gonna hurt her. She was getting old, and it would come up and like hit on the door, and it would like knock its horns against the door on the window, and it would just bother everyone that night, and everyone was kind of freaked out by him. And I guess it's happened before, and that's the reason why they quit getting goats from the beginning. So eventually, when they found out that like she was fighting it off one day, they just like wanted to get rid of it, and they took it out in the hills and they left it. And as it was out in the hills, they came back. They're just like didn't want to shoot it, you know. It's like, oh, I'll just let it go. And then they were drinking, and he said that they came back, and he said before they even got back, he came in the house, and they're like, where were you? You know, like they're kind of mad at him, thinking he just went out to go drink, you know. And they wanted him to go get rid of this goat, and he's like, I want to go get rid of that goat. And they're like, it's outside, you know, like, you liar. Like, he's like, what do you mean it's outside? And he went outside, and the goat was outside, and he's like, man, what the hell? Like, he's kind of scared after that, and he's like looking at the goat, and he said it's like the goat was like looking at him too, like it knew it. He left him out in the hills, you know. And
yeah, did he just drop it off out there?
Yeah, he just dropped it off out in the hills, and like he went around a whole nother direction, and like just kind of took his time getting back home. And when he got back, the goat was already there, and it was like back in its little pen. And they're like, man, you liar, like, you just wanted to go out and get drunk, like, because they gave him money to go, you know, go get rid of him. And he was like, man, he had himself like thinking like, did I just leave him? Like, did I just go get drunk?
Like, questioning himself.
Yeah, like, did I just leave this goat here and go get drunk? So he said like the next day he's like, I'll go get rid of him. And he said he took him out further, took him way out in the hills. He said that he wasn't drinking this time, just left him, and he came back. The goat wasn't back, and he's like, all right, well, he's our problem, you know. Coyotes are gonna get him, mountain lions gonna get him. And he said here at that night, he said he heard hoof steps on there's a handicap ramp. He said he heard hoof steps. He's like, no way, man. He said he started tripping out. He was watching the basketball game, and he said he didn't want to look, and he said he was kind of like thinking like, man, if I look towards the window, like I have a feeling if I look at the window, it's gonna be like looking in at me. So he said, sure enough, he could hear that like tick, tick, and there's usually just from something usually kind of blows outside, it would tap the window anyway. But he didn't really want to look, and he's like, man, that goat's gonna be looking at me. So he didn't look, and finally he's like, he's like, just looked over, and he said it was like looking right at him, and like he freaked out, and he got up, and he's like, went and grabbed the goat, went and tied it up. He said tied it up real good, tied it up to a pole, and he's like, that's it, man, we gotta go shoot this goat, like something's wrong with it. He's like, because like a lot of people, like when they think of goats, they think of like the devil, you know, like they put them together, and that's what a lot of people think of. So he's like, man, something's wrong with this goat, I need to get rid of him, you know. And he had him tied up, and he said all night he was just making this noise, crying. And he said when he got out, he just assumed he probably just chewed the rope up, you know. He said that night he was back at the window, had these long corns tapping on the window, and finally got up. It was early. He just took that goat, went out in the hills. He said he shot it a couple times, and he's like, man, all right. He said like had like a sense of relief, like he's done, you know. So he got home that same night. He said the goat showed up again, and he's like wondering. He said there's no blood, nothing, and he like freaked out after that. And he started talking to someone. He called someone else to talk to him. He said just to take the goat out in the hills. He said it probably and like do the same thing. So when he went to go do that, he took it out in the hills and went and shot it again. And after that, he was just like tripping real bad about it. And he went out to go drink and stuff. And he was like drinking, and there's a bonfire. And when he told me this story, we were at that same area, you know. So like that's why some people, they don't like hearing the story. Once they start hearing him tell the story, like everyone knows he's like buzzed out, and they're like, oh, all right. But then we always end up finding ourselves at that same area having that fire. I wasn't there when it first happened, but like just him telling the story, he said like he said everyone was there. He said they're having a bonfire. It was like that Friday night, you know, everyone was having a bonfire. And he said by this time, he said the goat was gone, it was no longer around. And he said like, so he's kind of like a sense of relief. And he said they're having a good time. And he said he just remembers like hearing it like make that noise. And he's like, what the hell? And like he said someone else heard it too, but everyone else wasn't really paying attention. He said he kind of like looked at one of my uncles too that knew the story, and he said he like looked around. He's like, no. He like kind of like shook his head, you know. And then he said that he looked and he could like see it standing up, like dancing behind all those people, and he like freaked out and he didn't know what to do after that. Ugh. And he said like supposedly he told me he could see it, someone else could see it, but the other ones couldn't. And then one of my cousins that was there, she said she remembers seeing him like he was seeing something, because when she tells the story, that's why she don't like going out there no more. she said she was looking at him, and she said she knew he seen something, so she like freaked out and kind of like rolled to look, and she said that there was nothing back there, but he could see the goat like dancing around.
Wow.
And he asked him if they could see it, and the first time he told it to me, I was creeped out because we were there, and like when he was telling the story, it's like when something happens somewhere, it's like almost like you feel that presence, you know. So I was there, and I was just like, man, like yeah, I'm kind of like ready to go, you know. And like the whole time we're by these sand rocks, so like I'm looking around, like he's probably gonna show up, and it's like a story he knows that scares everyone, so everyone kind of like, when they tell it, everyone's like, oh man, like it kind of kills the night too, you know, like everyone
you get that ugly feeling.
Yeah, like everyone wants to go home, and things like scary things already happen out there as is, and so that's why when I don't really go out there that much, but we do go out in the hills a lot, and he's told me that he's seen the goat like multiple times like since then. But when I think about it more, is it seems like, I don't know, they say like certain spirits can like latch onto you or attach to you, like will bother you. But it seems like a lot of times he's come encounters like with this goat a lot more. And the time I was with him on his res, we went to this house, and he's like, man, don't go in there. This is my house. He's like, but I don't like this house because it's haunted. And he said one time I was in here, and he said I seen a goat. He said I seen Goat Man come walking in this house, and he said that he came walking in that back room, and he was in there. And this is a real nice house too. When I got there, like you'd think it'd be run down, but he said that goat come walking in and like looked at him, and he said that like it made that noise, and he's like, oh man, like he's here. He said that this goat's kind of always bothered him, and he said it took off out the door, and he ran out, and he said he seen it come back around and ran up the other porch and went into that back room where he was, and he said that he went in there, and he said that it just got real quiet, and then he said that all he could hear in that closet was, he just heard something real loud when he was like kind of looking. He said he wasn't sure if he's gonna see it or what, but if it was that goat, he went to get it, and he said all he heard is like real loud in his voice. He said like, I'm the devil, and he said that he just like fell over.
Oh man!
And the goat said that?
Yeah, I know that's all he heard, but the goat wasn't in there, and that's all he heard. So like he freaked out, and ever since then, he said he's never been in that house, and he wants to sell it, but he don't want to sell it. But he no longer goes to that house anymore. And he was telling me that when I was asking him about this story when we were up there, he's like, I'll show you this house. And he took me to it. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, oh, drinking, you know. And I was like, man, I'll go in there and check it out, you know. And I had a flashlight, and I like went in there. And then all I heard him was real loud. Like I barely walked in there. And he's just like, Coda. He's like, comes running into the door. And I was like, what? He's like, man, just get out of here. He's like, just get out of here. Let's go. And I like looked at my buddy. He was with us too. We took him up there, and he's like, man, he's like, you didn't see that? And I was like, what? No. And after that, I kind of got nervous. I was like, see what? And then he's like, soon as he went in this house, he's like, he went in that back room. He's like, you can see from the moon. He said, two shadow figures like followed you in.
Whoa. And
I was like, what, are you serious? And he's like, yeah. And I come walking out, and my uncle was like, yeah, man. He's like, this house, I'm telling you, he's like, there's something like attached to it. He's like, this is an evil house. And I was like, all right. He's like, are you all right? Do you feel okay? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you didn't hear nothing? I was like, no. Like, didn't hear nothing at all. And I was like, no. Like the minute you went in there, like two things followed you in. And I was like, oh crap. So like I come out, I got in the car, and he's like, here, let's go see my mom. He went and told his mom, and his mom's like, yeah, no one goes around that house. Like even kids don't go there no more, because it's like everyone has a story about that house. But I haven't heard any other stories besides what he told me, because I don't know many people up there. But I was telling him, I was like, man, I wonder if like he come across that goat since when he was a kid. And he told me when he was younger that like this goat went walking in the church up there, and supposedly they said it was the devil. He said that he went into that church and stomped in that church, and they said that church is real old. It fell apart after that. But he said that supposedly that guy went in there, and it was Goat Man, and told him that he was the devil, and that he's shutting this church down like permanently. And he said he don't know how true that story is. He said, but he's always heard that since he was younger. And when he asked people about the church, why it shut down, he said no one will like talk about it.
Weird. Wow.
Like they don't want to talk about it?
Yeah. He's like when he asked about it, there's just like no one wants to like explain the story or what happened. He said some people just told him like, oh, people just say that. And then he said other people say like, oh, people just go into that church because it's so old and like it was going to fall apart anyway. But he said what it was just another kid told him is like you could see like how busted up it is when you go inside, and that guy's like, yeah, this is where he comes stomping in, you know, like how everyone hears a story about something and like explains it. So he said that he's always believed that, but he wasn't sure how true it was. But I believe it just because of things I've heard about like other goat stories. And I was talking to the guy I work with one day, and he was asking me about the bar on our res. He's like, have you ever heard that story about the goat when it went into the bar down there? And I was like, what? No. He's like, yeah. He's like years back. He's like, they said that a goat come walking in there. So there's a real nice looking guy. He said that he had braids. He said, look, his braids were so tight. They said that it looked like horns, and then the braids came all the way back.
Wow.
He said he's like wearing like a black coat. He said that he came in and said like all the girls like the way he looked, you know, and were attracted to him. And they said here one of them just kind of happened to look down and seen his hooves, and like freaked out and went walking back away. They said, but all the other people were like too
distracted.
Yeah, like we're too distracted or too drunk to like notice it. And they said that girl like freaked out and left and headed out. And then they said that he said, I don't know how true it is or what happened. He said, but supposedly some of those girls left with that person, and then he said none of them remember hanging out with that guy that night except for the one person that left like before anything would happen.
Oh.
I hate those stories.
I know.
And that's like a big thing though. It's like the goat is associated with the demonic.
Yeah.
And it's been like that for well over 2,000 years. Even before Jesus' time, it was associated with demonic figures.
Yeah.
The Bible describes demons as they
Satyrs.
they don't look like humans, or they don't look like they're not like you would think they look like.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They describe them as being satyrs, and that's like the goat figures. The funny thing is though, looking into the creation story, when they reference to Adam talking about it, Adam says there's cities here. So there was already a race before Adam was created. So, and those were basically those satyr figures. And then like Greek mythology, they worship him as like the god of wine and sex and whatnot.
The gods of naughty stuff.
Yeah, and but the Bible does credit that to that too. Naughty. You naughty goat, you.
Gross.
Yeah, didn't you say like when you said that goat was dancing, it had like its arms outward?
Yeah.
Like it's because you see them, their arms are up here.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me that you said its arms are like out like this.
Yeah, and anytime he tells a story, that's why like one of my cousins makes like fun of it, because whenever like she'll always see him doing that, like and she's like, oh, he's telling the story, you know, and then I always know that's what he's talking about, and like she makes fun of it a lot. But I just remember when he was telling me, I was like, the same time I was thinking like, man, was its arms like broken or what, you know? And then I was just thinking of like how when demonic things happen, like they say their bones break and then everything's like normal after that, you know? But yeah, it's like one thing I always think about, and I was just wondering like if it was like pretty much probably taunting him to like let him know he's still there, you know? And
satyrs were known to dance.
Yeah.
That's like
on the ruins.
Yeah, it's a direct reference to Babylon. That's funny.
That is gross.
There's this another like reason I've always been scared of like goats, but just besides like all the movies and everything you see and hear about them, is I can't find this place, but it's along the river, and it's me and my two older brothers were playing at my grandpa Pat's house, and my dad's like, yeah, you guys go play in the sandrocks. So we play at the sandrocks at my grandma's all the time, and I remember going along these sandrocks, and I seen it looked like a kind of like, what is it, like petrified, you know? Like, it was like this little bug on the sandrock, and I was looking at it, and I was like,
like a fossil.
Yeah, it was like carved. It was like coming out of the sand or the sand rock, and I was like looking at it, and there's sand down here, and pretty soon I was like looking at it, and I kind of like rubbed the sand, and then that bug that was on the rock kind of like came out of the sand, and I was like, oh, weird, and I showed my brother, and he's like, oh, is that it? And he's like, maybe this is where it lives, like it stays here, and he's like, oh, I wonder who carved it into the rock, you know? So we go to the next one, and then pretty soon we see a lizard carved in on the rock. And we're like, I wonder if the lizard's around here. And pretty soon we seen this lizard come walking out of this hole that was there. And then we see like another one. So we're like, oh man, this is pretty cool. So we kind of keep going. And then we see a rabbit.
Yeah.
See a rabbit on this rock. It wasn't like the whole rabbit, but you could tell that it was like a rabbit. It was carved in on there. And we're like, all right, where's the rabbit? And we're kind of waiting around for a while. And then we see this rabbit, this jackrabbit come running out. Like, oh, there it is. And so we kind of keep going. We're checking it out. And we see a bird. And this pheasant comes flying out. And we go to the next one, and then we see this goat carved in on this rock, and we just looked at each other, and all of us freaking like took off running.
Oh my god!
And we go running, and it's like a good distance, and we just kept running. And my brother was telling me, he's like, man, just run, you guys just run, keep running. And like I was like already panicking, like trying not to cry, and then my brother's like, "Come on, just keep going." And like we ran all the way back, and we see like the highway. We get to it, and then we go across the highway, and then my dad's like could hear us, and he's like, my dad's coming over, and my grandpa Pat's like laughing because they're all drinking, and he's like, "What'd you guys see?" And then I was like trying to catch my breath, and I was trying to tell him, but at the same time I was like crying, and then my brother was like, he's like, "Man, I don't know." He's like, "But we were seeing these things on these rocks, and they're carved in on the rocks," trying to explain it to him, and then my Uncle Pat just kept laughing. He's like, "Man," he's like, this river is a very spooky place, man," and that's all he kept saying. And after like we caught our breath, and like the night went on, I kept telling my dad, I was like, "Man, I don't want to stay here tonight. Like, I want to go back to Grandma." He's like, "We'll be okay. We're safe here." You know, he just kept trying to like make us be calm. And I was like, "I don't want to be here." And like my other brother, he was scared too. And my oldest brother is like the tough one, like trying to make us feel comfortable and safe. He's like, "We're going to be all right. Nothing can bother us here. You know, dad and uncle, they won't let nothing bother us." But that's all I could think of. And then when I got older, we're back over there. Those trailers ain't there no more. But I remember when I got older, someone else was staying there. My Uncle Pat, he like passed away, and I was just telling one of my buddies about it. He's like, "Man, let's go look for these, you know?" Yeah. And I was like, "All right," because we had guns and stuff, and so we went down there. And when we went,
I'm gonna shoot that goat.
Yeah. When we went down there, like I was like, "All right, this is where it is, like right up here." And they're pretty spaced out, like a good distance. I didn't realize how far away we got from that trailer. But I was looking, and you could see where that first one was, but there was like, we're kind of like rubbing. I showed him that sand, and like we're looking around, and he's like, "Where was it at?" I was like, "Right here." So you can kind of see something, but you couldn't see it anymore. And we went to the next one, and there was nothing there. I was like, "Man, this is where it was." I was like, "This is exactly where it was." And he's like, "Man, were you guys just seeing things that day?" Or like, you know, he's like, "Were you guys seeing the animals?" And then I was like, "Well, first we seen it it's carved into the stone." I was like, "And then we're seeing it after that." And then we started walking, and then like all of a sudden it just started getting dark, and I was like, "Man," "Man, I don't even want to go any further than this." And he's like, "What? Why?" He's like, "If we're not seeing it, we should be okay." Yeah. I was like, "No," I was like, "Man, this is just this river." I was like he said, I was like, it's real scary. I was like, I think anytime you see something or you come in encounter with something, it seems like you see it again. Yeah. Or like later on, when you try to explain it to people, or like just like talking about things, and then it happens, you know, like talking about something bad that happens, or explaining it. I was like, "Man, I don't want to be here." I was like, "I don't want anything bad to happen to us. I like to see something." And then he's like, "Man, just don't be a chicken. Let's go." And I was like, "No," I was like, "You can go, man." I was like, I'm gonna head back. And I start going towards where my Uncle Pat was staying, and he's just like thought about it, and he's like, "Man," he come walking over. He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I don't want to see it either." He's like, "I don't know what I would do, you know." He's like, "What if you see something and you shoot it?" He's like, "And then it attacks you, and you don't know what to do." He's like how people talk about like Bigfoot, if you see it, like not to shoot it, or like what to do.
You might just piss him off.
Yeah. So when we came back,
your gun.
Goes like this.
Yeah.
Brush it off.
Flicks the bullet.
He grabs it and loads it.
Yeah, but when we got back, he was telling me, he's like, "Yeah, I kind of had an ugly feeling just going over there, like thinking about it, you know, if we did see something." But it's on where we lived in Bernie. Like I was telling her where those sand rocks were. Like we drive by them a lot, like to get to where we're living at. And anytime I look over there, like that's like a core memory. Like I just look over there and like think of when that happened, you know?
Yeah.
You had, oh man, when I'm gonna animate that all over the camera. I remember you were talking about, you had some Bigfoot things happen, right? Mm-hmm. And going down to the reservation, it's like one of the, like people see them all the time. But I remember Dad telling a story about it running across the highway.
Yeah, in Crow, like heading. Didn't he say he was heading toward Crowfer or away?
Yeah, something like away.
Yeah, it was away.
And our grandfather our grandfather, our grandpa at the time. We have a different grandpa, no. But our grandpa my dad was in the car, and in Crow.
You say it was him or his uncle?
It was grandpa.
It was a grandpa?
Yeah, and my grandpa was a cop. He had this impressive history, but he was in the car with him, and they stop, and it stops traffic, right?
Yeah, he said even like a freaking semi and stuff.
Yeah, and
like
he
hit the brakes.
And he said in Crow, "What's he doing down here?" And that's all he said.
Yeah, he said it in Crow. He said, "What's he doing down here?"
Yeah, and that was kind of
he knew about it. Yeah. I was just emphasizing on what he just said.
I like that effect. But I mean, there's a lot of stories from the reservation, and a lot of them we come across those stories researching it that Native Americans have used Bigfoot as a medicine, and there's certain families that hold that. And if you know anything about medicine, some of the medicine is passed down from generation to generation. Some aren't even open up for a certain amount of years.
Some they open up every 5 years, some every 10, some every 100 years.
Yeah.
So you don't know, like, I was like kind of thinking that too. If it was like somebody's medicine, if they open that up like every so often, that's when you see them.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's possible. And so that makes you think about a whole lot of things that go on the res, like certain things happening around the res, whether that's sightings of Bigfoot or even deaths, things like that. Is that correlated to medicine? Like, is them bringing those out? Are they welcoming those things onto, you know what I mean? Into our world, basically.
Yeah, like they say he's like the protector of the mountain.
Right. Yeah. And then going into like the Washington area, he's more territorial to families. Is some stories we found. And he's referenced as a stick Indian, things like that. Yeah. So you had some stories, and you told me some really cool ones. You had one too, didn't you?
That actually kind of correlated. With
Let's go into that one. The correlation.
Yeah. You want to go ahead and tell them?
Which one?
How about you start it, and then she'll just chime in.
Yeah, I remember I went up camping. We went camping at Tongue River. We were like camping, boating, all that kind of stuff. And one morning, my dog would always wake me up. She was staying in a tent with us, and she started like, nudging me to take her out. So I got up and, took her outside, and the sun was like still behind the hills, but everything was, getting lit up. It was like where everything was blue, that kind of time. And I remember I was standing there, and I climbed up to the very top of this hill, and I was just watching, waiting for her, to do her thing. And I just hear like the creepiest like scream, but it was like a real deep like yell type scream coming from the other side of Tongue River. And I remember it was
Frankenstein
just
like, over there.
Like it was loud, man. And I remember I was standing, it just like stopped me dead in my tracks. I was like, oh my God, what the hell is that? And I sat there listening to it, and I kind of looked around, and my dog looked like terrified, just sitting there staring in the same direction. And she's looking back up at me, and this goes on for a little while.
Made you do your thing.
Yeah.
So I did my thing.
Like I go up there, and like I was like so caught off guard, I didn't even think about recording this or anything like that. I was just like, holy shit, what the hell is that? And I remember my dog just freaking booked it, man. Back to the tent. I ran and dove in the tent. And I was like kind of like looking around, and it was like dead silent out. Everybody's still asleep. And so I go back to the tent, and I climb in, and I'm laying there listening to it still just screaming. And I start nudging, Sarah, get up, you got to hear this thing. And the second she rolls over, dead silent.
Oh my God.
I'm sitting there. She's like, what? Why are you bugging me? And I was like, just listen. And she's sitting there. I don't hear anything. The second she rolls over, and I can tell like by her breathing pattern, she fell back asleep. It starts going again. This thing starts yelling again. And I just laid there in bed for like 15, 20 minutes, just thinking, holy crap, man. Like, is anybody here, hearing this? And that day we ended up packing up our stuff and heading back. And right when I got cell service, I got a snap from you, and you said that they just saw Bigfoot in, was it Bernie? Yeah, which is literally like right there.
Yeah,
like literally the direction of where I heard it coming from, where she said that he was seen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anything to add?
You want to talk about when we heard him when you were hunting?
So yeah, I mean, I've probably heard him multiple times, but yeah, the one time we were hunting, me and her, we had the kids over here, and like going out pretty early, and I went to this spot where I've seen like deer like the week before, so I knew like for sure they'd be there, but I was more hunting for like a bigger buck. And we're on our way back, and everyone else, we heard there's a trailer like going through because they're probably rounding up their cattle or something. But we went to this peak, and we were checking it out, and it was real nice in the morning. So we just kind of stayed there checking it out, and we're on our way back on that road. and I see these deer. They're coming back. I was like, all right, they must have just got done getting their water. You know, they're making their way back. They're jumping the fence, and I just parked the truck, and I was like, all right, well, you just wait here. I was like, I'm gonna follow them down, like down the road. I know where they're gonna pop out, and she's waiting there, and I just kind of got out and made my way down there, and pretty soon, like the bucks kind of like disappeared, and I was watching the does, and I got up pretty close to them, and I was sitting there, and I was just waiting for them to come out, and those does were coming out in this open area, but I couldn't see like where the bucks were, and I was just sitting there for a long time waiting, and this, like I said, this truck come by, and it was like really loud, like you can hear it shaking, or how had all their tools and stuff in the back too, and it kind of spooked them, and they kind of ran off, but I just decided to wait. I figured they'd come back down, and as they're coming down, I was kind of getting impatient. I was like, man, I'm just gonna shoot one of these does here, because I was getting tired of waiting. And then, man, I just hear like this real loud scream, and I like kind of like shook me up, like, woke me up, because I was just watching them, you know, like looking through the scope, checking them out. And then the deer, man, their horns like their ears instantly like shot up. Yeah. And then they just turned, and it's almost like they kind of knew I was there, because they like looked up towards me.
They're like looking at you like, did you hear that shit too?
Like looking at me, and then I was like just kind of like looking around, and the first thing I was like, oh man, I better go see if she heard that. And then so I just didn't even care about the deer after that, and I just got up and I went running back, and I was like, by then I was like a couple hills over, so it took me a while to get back. And then, man, like these magpies just went nuts. Right, right once that happened, I could see them all flying off, and I got to where she was, and she was like sitting in the truck, and I just walked up to her, and I was like, did you hear that? She's like, yeah, I heard that. I was like, oh,
I had all the windows down, and what's stupid is when I heard that, I fucking locked the door. But yeah, all the magpies, all the magpies around me just flew off.
Oh god,
you gotta do what you can.
Man, when I heard it, it just made my heart like drop, and I was like, oh no, I was like, Dakota's not even here. Like
I think out. A window would save you. Curl up the window, he's just staring at you like.
Meanwhile, Dolores breaking.
It's dumb because I have another story like that when I heard it, and I went to like go check if the door was locked. It was real stupid.
I mean, we even have a one of our mom's friends in Washington. Mm-hmm. She was on a movie, or her story was on a movie, and it was like the last story on that movie, and it busts through the window and grabs her. Do you remember that movie?
Auntie Tess?
No, it's not Tess.
She was on the news.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I was in Washington, and I remember Mom telling me about that, because we used to watch that movie all the time growing up, and that's what freaking terrified me of Bigfoot, was that movie. But her story was the last one.
It busts
through the window and grabs her.
Yeah.
Remember, because they keep seeing him like walking on the deck and stuff, and like even checking the doorknobs.
Which is
and then
scary.
She busts through and grabs her, and Mom said that was like one of her friends.
Wow.
You don't remember that? Yeah, I mean, you might have been too young.
I remember.
You guys are still babies.
You're pretty ancient.
Yeah,
but
I'm up there.
I remember just brushed past him,
graying as he's talking.
Beard.
I remember hearing that growing up. Yeah.
All I thought about was the movie Santa Claus with his face,
and he's trying to shave, and it's like,
ho ho she show. That part always gets me in Santa Claus when he's messing with that cop.
Oh yeah.
And we do this. Letha notice this. Like all of our family does this laugh. We're like
I know.
You just nod your head.
Or we don't make a noise when our mouth opens up and we nod. And Grandma Jeannie does this. Dad did this a lot. And every time I see that scene on the Santa Claus where he's like, oh she show, and he starts doing that, I was like, that's like a perfect representation of that. Shoot.
Should I tell that one when I heard him?
Yeah. Do that.
Okay, so we were staying at Dakota's grandma's house, and like they have a handicap ramp there too, and it's like real huge. But I thought everyone was asleep, and I thought he was asleep, and Cash was like just tiny then. He was in like a playpen. And where we had his playpen like by the window, and like that window is huge. And they just have like curtains kind of drawn, and there's always like this little gap in between, and the only light you can see coming down is from the hill, and it's like a street light. And I was laying there, and like, man, like there's all the dogs outside started going nuts, like barking and freaking out. And I was like, man, like, I wonder like what the hell's going on. And I kind of put my phone down, and I was like listening, and then like all those dogs, like you can hear them like start getting closer to the house, like freaking out. And then I just hear like a heavy ass footstep right on that porch. And I was like, I was like, what the hell is that? Like, I was thinking like maybe someone's outside. And so just listening, and you could hear it. And like, man, those strides were like real big too. Like, dropping on that porch. And I was like, what the fuck? And I looked towards the window, and you can see this big, huge shadow go right by that window. My God. And it like blocks the light. And I was just watching, and then
it wasn't Dakota.
It gets closer up to the porch, and they have like
leans down like Jurassic Park, just his eye.
But it gets closer to the porch, like by the door, and like they have a table there, and it's like a metal one, and like the metal chairs.
Yeah.
And you could just hear that table slide out of the way, and that's in front of the door. And
that's
like
scary.
I like freaked heavy, out, and like I was gonna get up, and he stopped me. Like I just felt his hand on my chest, and he just says, "Don't." And I was like looking at the door. I was like, "Is the door locked?" And he's all, "It's locked." And then we just, man, it was like there for 5 minutes, like just quiet.
That is disgusting.
And like those dogs are still barking and freaking out, and then you could hear it start walking down the porch, and then it goes by the window. You could see that shadow again, and then it like hits one of those dogs because it starts yelping and like going down the hill like yelping.
Yeah. But
man, I wanted to get up because there was another door with like a window on it, and I wanted to get up and go look at it, and he fucking stops me, and I was like, I want to see this thing. But man, that like freaked me out.
It's just one of your relatives.
Because even his grandma would always have them shut the window.
Yeah.
Because she said that she could smell it.
Ooh. Yeah, and they're like they're
she had like horrible. She like had experiences with it, right?
Yeah. I even remember like not long after that happened, some of my grandpa's relatives came down from their Sioux. Came from Pine Ridge, and one of them wanted to stay outside on the trampoline. I mean, like, because like everyone's done that, like growing up.
Sleep on
trampoline, you know. And he's just like, "Oh, I'll just sleep on the trampoline tonight." And my grandma's like, "What? No, like, stay in here. There's a room here for you, you know." And here, my dad was the one that called and told me about it because we were telling him pretty much the story Dolores just now said, and he's like, "Yeah," he's like, "So Casey was outside the other night, and he's like, he went to sleep on the trampoline." And my dad's like, he's like, "Yeah." Because grandma told him not to, and my dad's like, "Yeah, you can just stay in here. Like, what do you want to say?" He's like, "I'll just sleep under the stars, you know, like going off, you know." And he's like, "I'll be all right. All I need is a blanket." And my dad's like, "All right, man." He's like, "I can." So the door will be unlocked. He's like, "The door will be unlocked." He's like, "What?" He's like, "All right." He's like, "No, it's if you hear anything, I get scared." He's like, "Man, everyone hears stuff around you all the time." And he's like, "Oh, I'll be all right. Nothing's gonna bother me." And then my dad says like later on that night he could just hear the door open up real quick and like shut, and he said my brother was playing his game, and I guess my brother just like busted out laughing. And he's like, "Oh, someone must have scared the shit out of him out there." He said they went up to go check on him, and he like my grandpa come walking out of his room too, and they kind of like met him in the kitchen, and he's like, my older brother must have asked him, he's like, "So what'd you hear then?" And then my grandpa come around the corner, and he's like laughing, and he said it in Sioux, and my grandpa must have been nodding his head, yeah. He's like, "Yeah, he comes by here quite often." And he's like, "What, really?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I wasn't thinking much of it." He's like, "At first," he's like, "when they're telling me the door's gonna be open," he's like, later on, he said he's got to thinking of things more, like something was gonna bother him, and then like, he said he's like, maybe they're talking about like a mountain lion, and then he said then he heard a noise out there, but he said what made him come in instantly was it started smelling real stink.
Yeah.
And he said he remembers coming in an encounter with it where he grew up, and he just remembers that smell. So he said just instantly he didn't want to see nothing, so he ran inside.
Oh, man.
He's got the worst crap
The way he's standing.
I know. Did you find that footage?
Which one?
That off the security cameras?
No.
You didn't find it? Did you look?
Oh, what we're telling you?
Yeah, you want to tell that one?
Oh, yeah.
That one was weird, man.
So, I'm pretty sure we messaged you, like, the day that happened. Like,
I remember that.
So, like, your mom was your mom was in the hospital, and then, like...
Little too much energy.
This is, like, when your dad first started getting kind of, like, real sick, like, it was affecting him more.
Mm-hmm.
But I just remember me and her were upstairs, we're watching, I don't know what we're watching, we're probably watching some series or something, and here, who was it, Cassius? One of them come walking in, and they're like, he's like, "Papa's downstairs, you need to go see." They're like, "Some old woman at the door," and like, we don't know who they are. And I was like, "What?" I was like, some old woman. It was dark too, you know, and late. And I was like, what the hell? So I jumped up and ran down there, and I looked, and I was like, champ, who's here? And he's like, man, he's like pointing at the door and like shook his head, and he's like, he's like some idiot. And I was like, what? So like I opened the door, and then I like looked, there's no one out there, and then like I kind of my daughter's all like, it was some old woman, she was out there. And I was like, all right. So like I went out, and I figured it was an older woman, you know, like she'd probably, because it wasn't long after that happened, and we heard that like the door shut and everything. So I ran out to the street, and I looked down the street, didn't see no one down this way, looked both ways, and I kind of like walked down the ways to like where the roads cross, and see no one in either direction. So like I came back, and that's when I told her, I was like, man, tell Cdale to check the camera to see if anything, like who it was. And then that's when you checked, and you sent her like the video because it recorded the clip, you know, of the door opening. But you can see the door open, and you can see your dad like kind of like come out a little ways, but you couldn't see anyone there. And like me and her like freaked out after that. We're like, man, what the hell? And then like the kids, that made them get scared because like how we felt. And they're like, what'd she look like? And they're like, there was an older woman. It was an older white lady. And I was like, huh. But when I went out, like it smelled like cigarettes too. And I like went and asked your dad again. I was like, what? I was like, what'd she want? And he's like, she's like, I don't know why she come over here. He's like, she wanted cigarettes. She's like, asking for cigarettes. She's like, we don't smoke. She's like, none of us smoke. And I was like, I was like, all right. And then like the next day around the same time, the same thing, someone was knocking, and then I was like, oh man, I gotta go get this. So I ran to the door right away, and the kids were already like looking at the door like, oh crap, you know. So like I ran over there, and then I opened it. I don't know, that happened the next night, and your dad got it, and like he must have shut the door, and I came down, and he's like, it was that woman again. She's like, she came over here, she's like asking for cigarettes again. And then I really started getting like worried because I was talking about like spirits show up, like looking for food or looking for something, asking for stuff. And I remember when my brother passed away, he was like, that man right there, that man, I couldn't see no one. He's like, he's hungry, get him food. So I was like, what? And I just listened to him. I went and grabbed food and put it outside. He's like, oh, okay, good. And then like my brother passed away like half an hour, like maybe an hour and a half later. So like I was really scared. I was like, man, what's going on with the chat, man? I was kind of getting like real nervous. And then I went out, I looked around, I didn't see this old woman anywhere, and man, I was just like, oh man, I was like, we checked the cameras again. That's when like we had it on her phone, and we looked, and you couldn't see her. And then the next day come around, and that's when I was like, man, I'm getting the door this time. And I ran over there, and I got it, and I opened it, and your dad must didn't hear the knocking, and I opened it, and there was this old white woman, and then
she was freaking tiny too.
Yeah, like I opened it, and I was like, oh, I was like, here you are, like, you know, and like real. Yeah, I was like, what is it? What do you want? And I was like thinking like, man, I probably should have went and got some cigarettes, you know. And then I was like looking at her, and she's like, oh, I was just stopping by, sorry to bother you. And then she's like, do you guys have any cigarettes? She's like, they took away my cigarettes, and I'm not allowed to smoke cigarettes anymore, so I just wanted to see if I could come get some from you. And I was like, oh no, I was like, none of us smoke cigarettes. I was like, we don't smoke or anything like that. And she's like, all right. She's like, well, I'm sorry, but man, it smelled like wicked cigarettes too when she was just there.
And I'd be like, it smells like you have some on your grandma.
And then like she left, and she started heading out. And she just kind of like walked off, and it looked like she was heading straight across the street to the other house. And I was just like, man, what the hell? And like I was wondering like if I'd seen stuff or what too. I was just kind of like, it was still bothering me from what been going on. I was like, man, I don't want to check the cameras and see that I was talking to nothing, you know?
I hate that.
And then like your dad's like, who is it? And I was like, it was that old woman again. And he's like, oh man, he's like, that dumb shit. And like, man, he gets up and he goes up to the door, and he's like, goes outside. He's like, hey, he's like, all hollering at her. I was like, oh crap. And I was like, it's kind of sitting there. He's like, you don't be coming around my house no more. He's like, you stay away, man. He like started like cussing her out, and he's like, you're not welcome over here. He's like, I don't like that you keep coming over here. He's like, you're getting this like scared. You're worrying everyone, and man, he's just going off on her. And I was like, damn. I was kind of like sitting there listening. He come back in. He's like, oh man. He's like, what an idiot, huh? He's like, keeps coming over. He's like, you think she'd know the first time? He's like, just shut the door. He's like,
just the way he says
stuff. He's like, if she shows up again, he's like, man, don't even answer it. I was like, all right. And then like, so the next day I was like, man, is she going to come again? And she never did show up. But then finally we checked the cameras, and you can see me go out and like step outside, and you can't see her on the cameras.
So creepy.
And then I was telling him about it, and her, I was like, when we seen it, I was like just sitting there. I was like, man, what was I talking to? You know, or like what was going on? Because you can see me going like this, talking to her like, where'd you come from? You know, and I was trying to ask her which house she came from, but she wouldn't tell me.
She just kept pointing like down the road.
Yeah. I was like, where do you stay? Where are you from? And I've never seen her around town, like the places I've worked around here, and then I've never seen her walking down the street or anything. And I was just like, so it bothered me for the longest time. And then finally, I just kind of like forgot about it until one day we were talking about something, and then it just like popped up. I was like, hey, did I ever tell you about when this happened with your dad? And he's like, oh yeah. And so I told him the whole story, and I told him that like we got a hold of you right away to see what you can see on the cameras. And
it's gross because the camera's like point of view is like right towards the door, and then there's one towards the street.
Yeah, you can see the mailbox. The mailbox is right there.
Everything. Yeah. I remember you telling me, like, you said you looked on the cameras and it kicked on, and there was nothing there.
Them.
Yeah.
What about when like Dad was out there yelling at her? Did you guys get that?
Yeah, you can. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Your dad goes out and you can see him, and then like, but you can't even see her like walk away or like. It literally looks like we're going out and like we're talking to no one because like you can see me move my hands down and like pointing like where you're from, and you can see your dad go out too, and like he's like shaking his head, walking away. And then when we told him about it, he was just like he didn't want to hear it, like he didn't want to believe it when we told him what we see on the cameras.
Oh my God, that is weird, dude.
Now, if I was over there, you would have been seeing me going like this and be like,
like that.
Light up a cigarette in front of her. I don't got none, Grandma. It smells like you've been smoking right now.
Oh, that's what brought up we were talking about cigarettes because remember I was telling you what happened out at Coyama's Pond?
Yeah.
So when I was telling him about the cigarette things, and your dad was saying, like, yeah, a lot of times when people like see spirits or they're around, like they smell tobacco. You can
smell something.
Yeah, you can smell that. And I was like, yeah, I've been told that before. But me and her, we always just drive out to Coyama's Pond, and we went out there one day, and we're driving by, and we like went to go turn around by the river, and we see this guy. Like to me, the only way I can say is like he had on a jacket, like a leather jacket. He had his hoodie on underneath, and he looked like he's like kind of like that. His outfit looked pretty rough, you know. Mm-hmm. And he had his hoodie on, he had the hood on, and you could barely see him. But he come walking out from that trail, and he was carrying a scythe, and I was like, what the hell? I was like, look at this. And like, we're just both kind of driving by, and like, he's kind of like looks towards us, and I was like, and I didn't know what to think. So I just kind of kept going, and I was just like looking at him, and I was like, man, who the hell is it? Like, what's this guy's deal? Like, is he trying to scare the shit out of someone? Or like, did he kill someone back there or something?
Or is he a farmer?
Yeah. And I was just like kind of tripping out by it, and I was like, and we were quiet, but like, I just like, kind of like tapped her and pointed, and we went and turned around, and it's like, I don't know, maybe like 10 yards or so away. And there was an older vehicle parked there, and we went to the river and we turned around. It was just like that quick, and we come back, and that truck's gone, and like he was just right there. That truck was like, it was getting dark. We could see the tail lights, and then there was another vehicle parked by the pond because everyone takes their dogs out there.
Yeah,
and we could just see that red lights like heading out, and I was like, oh man, we gotta catch up to like see who this person is. And we head out. We're trying to catch up to it, and it's all dusty, and like the road's all bumpy, and like, so we're kind of take our time, but we're trying to catch up to see if like that person was in there or what was going on. And then all we could smell was like that cigarette smell, and like that by the time we got to the road, the highway where the asphalt is, and there's all the lights are there, by then it was like dark. It just got dark by then, and that car just kind of like disappeared.
Wow. And
then we pulled into town, and after that we were kind of like creeped out. We drove around town for a while, probably like half an hour. We're driving around trying to see if we could find this vehicle anywhere, and we kind of came back towards Coyama's Pond, and I was like, doesn't that make you like think of like the Grim Reaper or something, you know? And then I was like, man, maybe we'll just go back. And I went back, and we showed up, and your dad was like sitting inside the kitchen, and I told him what happened, and he just looked over at me, and he's like, can I smell like cigarettes? And I was like, yeah, I smell. I was like, that's all we could smell was cigarettes after that. He's like, yeah. I was like, a lot of people would say when you smell tobacco or it smells like burning cigarettes, he's like, that there's like a spirit around, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, I smelled that outside once when I went back home after we were recording.
Really?
Went outside, and it was just like really bad. And it was we usually, like when I go home from here, it's like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
it was absolutely nobody, and it just really quick, just all I could smell was cigarettes real bad. Wow. And then just it was gone. I was like, what? I was looking around like, somebody out here smoking? I was like really looking, nobody. So I was like, and then he told me that, and I was like, what the fuck, dude?
Dad always had these he wasn't traditional, but he did pick up a lot of things that he learned, and he would always like here and there give you tidbits, but he would never give you like a full thing. You know what I mean?
It's like, like once in a while, he would kind of tell you something.
Come up, and I'm like, oh wow, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was a weird one, man.
Yeah.
When you told me that, I was like, what? Like, you come out and you're just talking to nobody.
Yeah. This is crazy because like the kids were, when they come up, they're like already scared. Like they knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
And then your dad was like bothered by it too. And I remember when I brought it up to him, like he didn't even like, you could tell he don't talk about it, but he's just like, oh man, he's like, yeah, that dumb shit. Like he's just, I think he was mad about the whole situation.
That she was back.
Yeah.
Like, I told you, get out of here, you know?
Yeah. And I was like, oh man, I was like, but I kind of completely forgot about it until I was telling you about like when we went out there and we seen that. The only reason why I thought of that is I seen a video recently of, they said that they caught the Grim Reaper on camera. I don't know if you guys seen that one.
What, on that truck?
Yeah, where that one goes off the bridge, and then you see that semi come by with the trailer, and you can see him like standing.
He's on top of
Yeah,
it.
he's standing on top of there.
Yeah, he's on top of the truck.
That one creeped me out.
That weirded me out too, man. Like he was literally on top of the truck when it drives by.
Wow.
Did it, man?
Yeah, it did.
Did it, man? That's really cool.
You were telling me another story. I think it was not too long after that. You said something about like a ghost car.
Oh yeah. So man, the school, I was always told like the school is pretty haunted. It seems like most schools are like haunted. But I remember our auntie was telling us like if you ever go up there like and you honk 3 times, like this ghost car will come out, and this is like a Cadillac. And like we never really believed it, and then one time they're like, my cousins were like just so like, oh yeah, like it's something easy, like let's just go show you. Come on, you guys got to see it. Like it's pretty cool, you know. And I was like, what? I was like scared. I was like, I don't want to see no ghost car. And like, yeah, man, it's pretty cool. Let's just go see it. Watch this. Like, and then we went out there, and man, their car like barely runs too. And I was like, man, I'm probably gonna like this car's gonna die, you know? Yeah. Then we get out there and they do it, and then they like honk like 3 times, and then I was like, oh, all right, good. And then like pretty soon you see this car come pulling over, and like before that we went up there was no one up there. Security does go out there, and they do that. They honk like 3 times, and pretty soon this car comes over, and I was just like, and like they all scream, and like they start driving off, and we leave, and then they're just like all normal, like it's something that they do like every week or something, you know,
scare each other.
Yeah. And then like I get back, and I was like telling my dad, and I was like, man, I don't like being with these guys. They do like weird things, you know. And my dad's like, "Oh, did you see it?" Like
should we go right now?
Yeah, he's like he was wanting seen it before too, you know. And I was like, yeah, we've seen it. And I was telling someone else about it one day, some of my friends, and they didn't believe me. And I was like, oh, I don't know, man. Maybe it was just like a coincidence. Maybe it just works with them because they go out there so much. But my uncle has a lease out there, and he always takes his cows out there, and I've really never seen anything. So my buddies and them, they go out there and they do that, and then they do the honk, and they're just like just like laughing, you know. Like, and I was like, maybe it was just them. And then as we were leaving, these lights, just this car comes out of nowhere and it's just right behind us, and it was like it was trying to pass us, but it went flying by, and like it almost kind of like went through part of the truck. And I just remember like feeling this real like gross. I had this real gross feeling. Yeah. I was like, oh, and I felt sick, and my grandmother stays not far away from there, and I was just like, oh man, I just want to go home. And then my buddy's like, no man, we're not going any like further out that way, we're going back this way. And we went back, and he's like, just have your grandma come pick you up. I was like, man, it's just late, I don't want to be on the road no more. I was like, I'm just gonna crash here tonight. I'll call her, let her know I'm staying the night here. And he's like, all right. And then he's like, how'd you find out about that? He's like, I thought it was just like a thing to scare people, you know. I was like, well, they told me that it was real, and like they do it for fun all the time, pretty much, you know. So one night, me and her went out there. We just drove out there, and I was just telling her the story, you know, talking about it. I didn't even do the honk or nothing like that, you know. Yeah. But we go up there, and then like we turn around, and as we're leaving, man, I seen lights come on. Yeah. I was like, man, I just floored it, and I went straight back to my grandma's, and we pulled up and went parked, and then my dad's like, you guys all right? Like, you know, you guys see it? I just told him we did. He's like, oh man, he's good thing the babies were with you, because they're up at my grandma's house. I was like, yeah, man. I was like, I don't know, I'll probably just not drive up that way anymore when it's dark, you know.
I hate it when something happens and then you talk to somebody that's not involved and they're like so like light, you know what I mean? Like, what's wrong?
Yeah,
they're cooking eggs or something.
I was in the kitchen cooking something. What'd you see?
They're like, it looks like you seen a ghost or something. And you're like, yeah.
The only thing
eat this.
The only thing that ever happened to us, me and Marcus, while we're together, that involved seeing a car was when we were at the cemetery taking pictures with the errands.
Oh man, that was weird, dude.
It was like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
something
it was like
that.
2:30, I think.
And we were up there, and we had like an impromptu investigation, and we did catch something out there. You guys caught it.
Yeah.
And it's this apparition, and I'll put it on screen, but it's there for a second, and then it's gone.
Because I snapped like pictures, like snap,
and you can see it actually.
Nothing, and then there was that, and then there was nothing after that. Yeah,
and cute. But you can see it actually covering up a gravestone, headstone, and that was kind of interesting. But
that where that was taken, there was a fresh dug grave right there.
Whoa, I didn't know that. But we were there for about an hour or so.
Yeah.
And it got cut short because this big white van pulls in, and it's one of those vans you like kind of give tours in or something. It's got like rows of seats, and this van pulls up, and there's no tint in the windows, and it's full of people, and they're like laughing or something in there.
Nice,
yeah, they're all dressed nice, and they're all like laughing and stuff in there. It's like they don't even see us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they get off and they just look at. They're all smiling. They're just like creepily smiling. It was so unsettling.
By that time, we were already just
we were like speed walking out, man.
Right, the car was way the hell over there. We had to get to it.
And when we got in the car, all the equipment started going bananas. Yeah. Remember that?
Yeah,
like everybody started like throwing it like at each other. Like, what the? They didn't even want to hold it. It creeped everybody out.
It's so weird. That
was nuts, man.
Yeah, and we've never seen that van here. And then until after that, then we started seeing vans similar to it. But it's like, that was creepy.
That was strange, man.
People are more strange than ghosts.
Yeah, see, like one thing that tripped me and my buddy out one time is where we pulled up to the gas station. We were driving by the gas station one day, and it's just, I don't know, just the way this person was, I guess. But I looked over, and this guy was getting gas. And, like being on the res, when someone don't fit in, like their vehicle and like the way they look. Mm-hmm. And we see this guy, and I just kind of like look at him, and I was like, man, like, what is this guy? Like all the time when I see someone, I'm like, man, why are they getting gas here? Like they must really need gas if they stop here. And I was like looking, and then in the passenger seat, I see him reaching over, and he's like buckling this person in, and like he's pulling the seatbelt over and like buckling him in, and he's like having a full on conversation. And my buddy's like, he's usually ripping around, and he's like driving real slow, and I kind of like look over, and he's like, man, he's like has this weird look, and he's looking too. And we realized this guy was buckling in a mannequin. There was like a person in there, like
what the hell?
Getting buckled in, and he was having a full on conversation, and like at the same time, my buddy's like rolling the window down even more to like get a better look because his windows are tinted. And then like I think both at the same time, like we probably like, cooking mouth something, and that guy just looked at us, and like he looked away and like covered that like that mannequin's eyes like that.
Scary.
And made like a face like we were like
you were the weirdos.
Yeah, we disgusted him, and man, I was just like, what the hell? And my buddy is like just like, man, he was just quiet, and like we're on our way. We're actually heading to Billings, and like he just floors it out of there, and man, we're just quiet like all the way to Billings, and we're just like sitting there, and then we got to Billings, and then we get to this apartment, we go see the person we want to go meet, and then we go into their house, and she's all like, fuck, you guys are acting weird, And then she's like, you guys alright? And then my buddy's just like, yeah, man. He's like, what did you think of that earlier? And I was like, man, I don't know. I was like, that's kind of creepy, huh? And I was like, I've seen like documentaries and stuff. I was like, didn't really look into them. I didn't want to know any more about it. But I was like, I never thought I would see that like myself. And he's like, yeah, man. He's like, I don't know why. He's like, that just freaked me out though. He's like,
it's unsettling. You like think how weird the world really is, that kind of thing. You're like, there's fucking people like that out there.
Yeah,
that's
like
that
weird.
Movie
dude.
that guy owns a mannequin, remember?
Yeah.
But he like kills her off.
Oh my God.
Wow.
You were telling me about another ghost car story where you said it was like somebody actually got in the car.
Oh yeah, so the crazy one with this one is I've heard it from multiple people, and then we went and picked up the guy that told it too, because my uncle's the one that like has the same one that experiences stuff with like the go everything. He's the one that like, experienced that.
Yeah.
But he just wanted to hear the story, like, and other people to hear it from another person that like got into the vehicle. And when he told it, like, he didn't want to talk about it. But then once he told it before, but once he realized that like someone was in the same vehicle that experienced that,
yeah,
like he told us everything, and like it just like matched up. But when he first told me about it, because we're always going up and down this road, and like the road that we go on to get back to my grandma's house, like it's known for being haunted. I remember one night we walked from my grandma's house all the way to my dad's, and me and my brother literally walked in the ditch the whole way because we didn't want to get like picked up by this vehicle, and then same time we're like acting mad at my grandma. We didn't want her to pick us up, so. But I just remember seeing this car keep going by slow, and this is when I found out about the story. I was telling my uncle about it. He's like, "Yeah, man, there's like a ghost car that goes up and down this road." I was like, "Well, how do you believe that?" And he told me that. He's like, "Yeah, one night I was walking home, and said he was on his way back out, and here this car pulled up, and he said it just pulled right up to him. He said it was an older vehicle, and he said he just looked over, and he's like, dang, man, like, who's this? You know, he's like, I've never seen a vehicle like this, and he said, right off, he's like thinking like something wasn't right. He said, but he just liked the way the car was, so he just jumped in. He said right off, that woman said, "Do you need a ride?" And he said, yeah. And he jumped in. "Where are you going?" He told him where he's going. And the woman said, "Oh yeah, I know where that is. I can give you a ride there." And he said that they're driving. And he said, on her way up, he started talking to her. And he said she started fixing the radio. She said, "You like listen to tunes?" And he said, "Yeah, I like listen to music." And I said, "Me, I like listening to tunes." And she adjusted the radio, and he said it was a real old radio, and he said like it was like trying to pick up on the channel or something. So there was no singing; it was just playing.
Yeah.
Like, it was just playing. You know. He's like, "Man, this is a pretty cool car. Where'd you get it at?" And she said she really wouldn't say, but she asked him what his name was, and he told him his name, and they got to the house, and he said, "Well, I can't drive you all the way in there." He said, "I'm just gonna have to drop you off at the road." And he said, "All right," but he said on the way up, he said he kept hearing like a baby rattle and like something shake, and he looked back, and he said he could hear it. He said there's a baby sitting back there, and he said he didn't want to look because he had a weird feeling. He had a weird feeling about that woman too, and he said he looked back, and he said he could see that baby, and he couldn't really see it, but he said he remember that baby kind of looking at him. He said he could see like sharp teeth.
Yeah.
And he said right after that he kind of got nervous, and that woman just told him, he's like, you can just drop me off. Yeah, just drop me off up here. He said he started getting nervous, and that woman said, "Oh, don't mind him, don't worry about him." And he said, "All right." And he said they got there, and that woman told him her name, and he said, "What's your name again?" And he told her, and she kind of started laughing, She's like, "All right, well, see you later." And he said that he jumped out, he started walking away. He said that car started going off, and he said he was watching it. He could see the lights. He said he could see the red lights going off, and so just kind of like barely puttering off. And he said, "Man," he's like thinking, "Man, what just happened?" And he said he just kind of didn't really care. He said he headed out, walked down the creek, got to the house. He said, when walking in, he said here it would be his mother-in-law was looking out the window, and she said, "Where did you come from?" And he said, "Just got dropped off at the road." And she said, "What? Who dropped you off?" And he said, "I just got dropped off." And he said, "I didn't see no cars come up this road." She's like, "I've been looking out the window waiting, all night watching." And said, "No vehicles come by for the past hour." And he's like, "Yeah, that woman just dropped me off." He's like, "He had to have seen it, and it's a good distance, good distance walk too." And she's like, "No, I didn't see nothing." She's like, "Within this time, I would have seen something." And he said, "Who gave you a ride?" And he told her, and she's like, "What?" She's like, "Hold on." She went to go get the old man, and she went and told him. She said, "Come out here." She said, "Tell him what you just now told me." And he said he told her the name. I can't remember the name, but he said she just dropped me off. And he kind of started laughing, and he's like, "What? Are you serious?" And then he said, "Yeah, she just dropped me off at the road." And he's shaking his head, and she's like, "Man, that woman died in a car accident like probably 30 years ago." And he's like, "What? Are you serious?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "She died in a car accident about 30 years ago on this road." And I guess he just kind of like freaked out, and he told him like what happened. He seen that baby in there, and they said they didn't know anything about no baby, but they said that they know she was in a vehicle and she got in a car accident and she wrecked. And when he was telling us that story, later on we're talking about it at school, and this boy told us that where my cousin stays kind of further down, because all my family stays up that way, he said that her boyfriend was leaving that house, and he was walking down the road, and he said this car pulled up. And he said he just jumped in. He's like, "You need a ride?" He said, "Just open the door, right off, someone's going to give him a ride." He said he got in, and he said the first thing he noticed is that was an older car, and he just started having this scary feeling. And he's like, I'll probably just walk, He said he just got scared instantly. And he's like, "Oh, no, you're fine. I can run you to town, man. Like, young man shouldn't be walking down the road at night, And started giving her a ride, and she said the same thing. "Do you like to listen to tunes?" And I guess she adjusted that. And he didn't know about the story then, but after we told it, it kind of like made him come out about the story.
Yeah.
he said they're going down the road, and he said the same thing. He said at the time, my uncle was telling me he didn't know the baby had sharp teeth, but he said after he heard the story from him, it kind of confirmed that that's what was going on. He said he remember seeing them like he thought they were, but he said he kept hearing a rattle, and he said and like a noise, and he said, man, he just didn't want to look at anything. Like he was just like focused, like he was trying to block everything out, and that woman was trying to talk to him and told him his name, and then they recognized the last name. And here he said finally he just kind of like got closer to the town, and there's this light, and she's like this is as far as I can go. This is as far as I'm going. He's like, all right, this is good. She's like, I'm turning around here, I'll drop you off. And he said before he got out, he said he didn't want to look at her, but he said as he was getting out, he said like that baby made a like loud noise, and he's kind of like looked last minute, and he said that he seen it like looking at him, and he said he remember seeing the sharp teeth, but it looked like a real old person, but in a baby form. And he said he just like freaked out, and he said that woman's like, all right, and she's like, I'll see you around, and she like drove off, and like he said after that he just like took off running, like he could see town from there, it wasn't far, you know, and there's lights. He just took off running from there all the way into town. He said just as he got there, he said that he's like looking back and wondering if the car was coming in, and he said he got home, he told someone about it, and they kind of like laughed, you know, and then they told him, like, I told you not to be walking on that road at night, you know, like it's scary, God. You know.
Yeah, didn't you say they said they found that car?
Yeah, no. So the last time when we went out to go do this roof, we're on the highway, and I looked over. This car's been there for years though, but it never like really hit me. I've always remember seeing it for years, like over there. But it kind of reminded me of like the vehicle like from Bonnie and Clyde, you know. Yeah. Like their vehicle, the one that they got shot in, and I just remember seeing it sit there, and I was like, man, just the way everyone explains that vehicle, I was like, I wonder if that was it, you know, and no one's ever like bothered getting rid of it, you know, and I was like, it's kind of just like almost if it's kind of like no one wants to remove it from that area because how far in it is.
Was it damaged?
Yeah, it's that you can tell like people shot it up, all kinds of stuff since it's been there, you know. But the other day I was like telling him, like I was thinking like I wonder if that was the vehicle, like and it wrecked there, and then like I don't know
she's just stuck there.
Yeah, like if they like I don't know what happened, but you can see it kind of. It went in kind of towards the creek. I guess it was probably an older creek. There's a tree there, but it's like right up against the tree, and then you can see kind of where like it hit into like a mound of the dirt that's there, but you can only see so much of it sticking out. And I was just wondering like if that was the vehicle that they were on, you know.
Yeah, I thought that was a freaking, especially the baby, dude. That just creeped me out. He's telling me about that, man.
But the thing that trips me out about this vehicle the most is so there's this thing that a lot of people see. You don't hear same thing. Like people won't talk about it till they hear about it, you know. And I remember seeing this real tall thing one time, man, and like you can't see the face really, and all I can ever think of is like the face is like this long, like real
dude.
Huge.
That's gross. Oh
my God,
like, that's all I always think of. And like me and my uncle seen it, one of my cousins seen it, and like when I talk about it, like these other people brought up that they've seen it, and it's like on the top of West Side, and like I talked to these other. I was in jail, and I was telling the story to someone, and man, this boy was like, I thought he was sleeping, man, he just shot up, and he was like, I had his full attention, and like after I got done telling the story of like me and my uncle seeing it, and my uncle's like, oh man, you can't be afraid of these spirits, like you gotta chase them off. And this is my uncle from Pine Ridge. He's like, grab a stick, man. He was like hollering at it, like cussing at it. He's like chasing it, and I was like running away. And it was a full moon. I just remember seeing it like run across this ridge, and me, I was like scared, and he was just like, man, he was like trying to beat it up or something, like chasing it. And
what's gonna happen when you catch it?
Yeah, he was like chasing it. He's like, you can't be scared of him. They can't, like the spirits can't bother you if you have a stick. And here I was, and I just like grabbed a stick, and since then I've always like when I get scared or we're doing something, I'm always like, oh man, where's the stick? You know, like should I grab, you know, it'd be like the smallest stick too. We're standing there,
like Willow, just
You're gonna see Dakota next time. He's gonna have a knife in a sheath and a stick next to it.
Yeah, we're chasing it, and then it disappears, and like we kept seeing it, but this guy was staying in a tent outside of his house, and like he was having problems with his family, kind of like hiding out.
Yeah.
And he kept telling us, man, that thing keeps bothering. That thing keeps bothering, man. Is right if I just stay in your guys' house? And we're like, yeah. Like he told him, I told you a while back you could stay in here, and he's like, well, I didn't want like my family coming up trying to like bust up your house or anything. And here he went in there, and when I was telling that boy about it, it turns out he stayed right across the street from where my auntie was staying at the time. And he said a lot of people see it around there, and the woman that stays next to that house, he said she was talking to him, and I guess one night she was warming up her car.
Yeah.
And she said she went to like clear the windows, and she said I was like leaning in, like looking at her.
Oh my God.
She said there was nothing she could do about it because, like, you know, what can you do? So she just like sat there, and then like she couldn't. She said the same thing, that the eyes, like the way she explained it, she said that it looked like something like smeared the skin over its eyes, you know.
Oh man.
So she said she just sat there, and then it just kind of like left and went on and went across, and then she said she went in and she waited for the sun to come up because she drives bus.
Yeah.
And she said as soon as the sun come up, she said she was like late for her, you know, her bus run, and she went down there and she's like, she didn't want to explain to anyone like what happened, you know, because she's late and no one's gonna believe it. And that boy was telling me that. He's like, but man, he's like, what I see, and he said he sleeps in the basement, and he said one night he could hear something tap the window, and he said he's kind of like, he thought it was one of his buddies, you know, like something's going on tonight, you know. So he heard a tap at the window, and he said he looked up, and he said all he sees is like this like a blur in the window, and he's like, what the hell is that, you know? He said he's like looking, and he said when he kind of like looked, he said it kind of like looked like it moved closer, and he's like kind of got jumpy, and he said he jumped up. And he said it just like went back, and then after that you could see like the basketball court. And he said like he freaked out and he ran upstairs, and he said like some people were there drinking, and he ran up and he went outside, and he said all I could see is like that house where my auntie was staying at the time. He said he could just see it like running off, heading that way. And I was like, yeah, I was like, that's the thing I seen. He's like, man, he's like, only certain people see it, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was told by someone else that first seen it too. But the crazy thing is that guy that was bothering him, and he went to stay inside my auntie and uncle's house. They let him stay there that night, and he was talking to his family, and no one believed him that like he was seeing this thing. I went back out to my grandma's, and like 2 days later, my auntie shows up, and she's like, hey man, did you hear what happened? Did you hear what happened out towards the bar? And I was like, what? No. And she's like, man, they found that guy. They said that he was like run over like repeatedly, and his body was like just smashed up on the road, and like he's like they don't know who it is, but it was him.
Wow.
And man, I was like in my head, I was like, man, I wonder if it was that thing. And like, man, that just always bothered me. And then one of his brothers came and asked me about the story because like they heard about it later on, and I was explaining it to him. And man, his brother was like, man, just tell me like everything about it, you know. And I was like telling him like pretty much what I'm saying, and I told him all that happened that night. And he's like, yeah, he's you know, it's really crazy. He's like, he came over telling us about what he's seen, and no one really believed him. They thought like he was just kind of like high or like out of his mind, you know. I was like, yeah. I was like, man, I was like, I've seen that thing like multiple times. I was like, I've heard other people talk about it. I was like, since I've talked about it, I was like, a couple other people came up and asked me about it too, and like told me like something they've seen or like similar stories that they've heard, you know. And so it was always kind of like bothered me. And then the most times when people asked about it was like when I was in jail. Someone's like, hey man, this guy, like, tell him about that story because he has something similar. And it's always kind of around the same area where everyone sees it. But my cousin was telling me one night that she was getting ready to leave. She said like they're gonna go out, go drink that night. And she said she was leaving, and she said she got up to the highway, and she just sees that car, the ghost car. Everyone, like these two stories I was telling you about that car. She said she just sees it go by, and it's going by so slow. She said she's like gonna go out that night, and she said that she sees this car just go by real slow. And she said this thing leans out. She said its face is all smeared, like. Yeah. And she said it just is like waving like at her. She said like to follow them. And she said she was just like looking at it. I don't remember who she said she was with, but it was like waving them like to follow us. Yeah. And she said like they just screamed and freaked out, and they just like backed up, and they went back to their house. And then they said like after that they didn't go out for a while, or they didn't do anything for a while.
They say it looked like a man, like a male.
Yeah, and because when she's telling me when she's seen it, she said like it was like waving them to like follow them. And she said like instantly they just turned around and went home, and they were like they're talking about like what they've seen, and then they said that they called someone to talk about it, but they're all freaked out. They're like, it feels like it seems like it was the car that everyone talks about, you know, that goes up and down the highway. And then they're like, man, what do these like things do? Do they like meet together, or do they know each other somehow, you know?
The reason why I asked was because in Lodge Grass there was we used to like listen to scanners all the time, like police scanners, and there was a police scanner went off, and it was a cop, and he was saying that there was like getting reports of an old lady walking around Lodge Grass like late as hell. And this was like 1-2 o'clock in the morning, and even talked to a friend later on. He heard the same thing come over the scanner, and they said they saw an old woman walking around, and the cop went to go, see who the hell it was. So he was like, yeah, there's an old lady walking around, and he pulled up to go see who it was, and he got back on the scanner or on the radio, and he said the old lady had no face.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I hate those
She
stories.
turned and looked at the cop, and she had literally no face. So that's why I had wanted to ask, it was like a male or like a woman, because this one had, looked like a woman until it turned and looked, and there was nothing.
I hate those stories.
Nothing. Who was telling that one story about that little girl? Remember, they said she was walking and had like a toy.
Say fall an hour.